Boy, the things that I've been through over my years in life, I think I need to contact Tyler Perry, because it can get real crazy and dramatic, and he's very creative with making black story dramatic. Well, hello, beautiful people. I'm sending nothing but love, light, and positivity. I hope that everyone is off to a good start on their 2-day weekend or break from the week. I had to do a little bit of errands, so here I am again, thinking and talking. So today I wanted to update you on my week and share some thoughts as usual. So I don't know what's going on with my students. Maybe because they know they only have about a month left in school. But the crazy thing is, the students are acting more like adults, and it seems like the adults that I come across are acting more like the students, acting more like children, and if you know what I mean. So yeah, it's just very interesting. And one thing I will say, now that I'm learning more about the spiritual journey and this healing conquest, I see karma in action. And karma do not discriminate. And as much as I used to think it's only for adults, it be kicking some kid behind too. This student stole some food from another student, and I was like, well, why would you take it when they turn their head and do not ask? You got your own food, why would you do that? And they trying to explain, well, it was just, I was just playing and blah, 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 they, having an excuse. And then she picked up a whole bottle of Gatorade, and it slipped out of her hand and spilled all over her lap. Like, all over her lap. And luckily, we had an extra change of clothes. Most of the time, the students have to go home if they don't have any extra clothes, spare clothes at school. Then it went from that student to another student that kept trying to interrupt me while I was teaching. Now, this student already failing, but instead of the student really trying to get an understanding and get better with their reading skills, they wanted to interrupt all the other students that really wanted to learn. So the whole time, every little thing I say out my mouth, she making a joke of it. Every time anything sound as close to something inappropriate, she will really make a big deal about it. I can't even say dodgeball. If I say anything with a ball, basketball, soccer ball, oh my gosh, everybody just, ooh, Miss Brown, you said ball. So, but she kept bugging me one day so bad, trying to press my buttons, to where she was laughing and moving her head back and forth, and she caught the corner of the computer cart, and she ended up hitting her head pretty good. It left a nice little nugget on the top of her head because she wouldn't control herself and she was getting out of hand. I said, well, I guess I don't have to snitch on you, because you're going to have to go home and explain this nugget on top of your head anyway. So, but yeah, it's like, I don't know what's going on with these students. When the end of the school year start coming around the corner, it's like everybody's just over it. It's like, I'm done trying to figure this out. I already know, by now they know whether they're passing and failing before they even get report cards. So it's like that. And then I did have to pick up a second shift so I can make sure I stay on track. Sometimes you got to do what you got to do when you don't want to do it. But I know it's only temporarily, and I know, it'll help me. It'll just help me get some things under control. But during my second shift, one of the ladies that I work with, she's Hispanic, and she's always like, it seems like she drank a whole pot of coffee before she even started her shift. So she's telling me, okay, we got to get this done. We got to get this work done. You got to move fast. You got to move faster. And I'm like, ma'am, do you know that I've been up since 7 a.m.? I didn't take a nap, and I'm moving as fast as I can. I'm sorry, I cannot move as fast as you speak in Spanish. I am so sorry. I wasn't trying to be rude or anything like that, but I had to let her know I'm going to get it done. And I like to take pride in my work. I don't care if it's the smallest little thing. I don't care if I have to sweep and mop. I'm going to take pride in my work. I don't like half doing stuff, because what happens is people like to talk about you, even though they talk about you even if you do a good job or a bad job, because they don't have nothing better to do. But for me and my sanity, I like to put pride into whatever I do when it comes to my performance as much as I can. Now, if the job I ain't feeling it, and we don't have no team player, everybody trying to be all in their little clique in their own world, I'm gonna take my time. I'm not finna be, going all over and beyond and out my way trying to make a job look good when they draining me and making me look bad. So that's just my theory on the workforce. Moving along, but the Hispanic lady, she started to kind of open up to me about being proud, and she married another woman, and she's happy, and I'm happy for her. That's her choice. But I did explain to her that, hey, I'm recovering from a very toxic marriage that involved a lot of abuse, mental, verbal, physical, just a lot of things that could have been avoided. And then she was like, well, that's your fault. And I kind of got in my feelings, because I'm like, how is it my fault for somebody to want to, treat you and dog you out, treat you bad and dog you out? How is that my fault? But then I said, well, maybe she might have a good point. And then I started to reflect. Instead of me reacting in a sarcastic way, I said, you know what, I'm going to take this as constructive criticism, because this might be something that I never really paid attention to. And so, when I start reflecting, I go back into my past, which is, something that a lot of people say don't do. But sometimes you have to go back to learn or figure out what you did, evaluate your behavior, what probably should have been done differently. And then you realize, okay, well, now I know better. I forgive myself, and now I'm going to make sure that I don't repeat the negativity in my past. So that's kind of what I do. So, I started thinking, and I said, you know what? I see where the error is in my life. I see what happened. I see what really opened up the doors to certain things that could have been prevented, that led up to my life today. So, as you've probably heard many times in my video, I did say and tell you guys that I was brought up in a Christian hardcore household. And when I say hardcore, because my grandfather was a pastor. Everything he said had something to do with a Bible script. And then my grandmother, she became an evangelist, and she spent a lot of hours at church. Not just Sunday, but I'm talking about all throughout the week. I'm always right there by her side. She either cleaning the church, she either doing Bible study, she's always doing something in the church. So I was very conditioned to really accept the word of what they say, God, and believing in the ideas and the philosophy of a Christian mind, right? And so as time went on, it was more like I battled with, and maybe somebody can relate to this, but I battled with, okay, why am I always in church? Why am I learning how to pray? Why am I doing this and this and that? But at the same time, I'm seeing a lot of chaos around me. I'm seeing, domestic violence. I'm seeing, people that's close to me that's struggling with drug abuse and alcoholism and all kinds of different things, sexual addictions and all that kind of stuff. And I'm trying to understand, okay, well, something missing. I'm a deep thinker. Maybe I'm an overthinker. That's something that I'm working on. But I'm just trying to figure out, okay, why is it that we're constantly, praying and making sure we're in place to praise and worship this entity that was given to us, but we're not seeing any results? But I do see some results when it comes down to the pastors, because, they get a chance to upgrade their vehicle, they get to buy a bigger house. But I don't understand why the family members ain't making changes in their lives. I don't understand why the cousins and all the other people that's constantly paying tithes, constantly being there, I don't understand why they're still struggling. And so then it kind of hit me. I believe, and this is just my thoughts, I just believe that the formula that we were trying to follow was not 100% meant to be followed the way it was taught to us by the Europeans, the people who gave us the religion, who altered our original spiritual ideas and turned it into their controlling tactics, right? So as time went on, I've been struggling with trying to find out, okay, I committed a sin, so I got to go and repent. And then I get into another situation. I committed a sin, then I got to go and repent. And I'm not saying that I broke or committed sin with all the commandments, but I'm just saying it was like a battle. I'm constantly, I committed a sin, I need to go and repent. I committed a sin, like every Sunday, you know, it was almost like, oh, I gotta repent. This is the opportunity to repent, to get back on God's good side. I gotta repent. But then I said to myself, you know what? This is a yo-yo effect. This is almost like I want a salad, but then the next day I'm craving a Big Mac and a milkshake. Then the next day I want a salad, and then now I'm craving some fried chicken and French fries. It's almost like it didn't make sense with the way things were going in my life. So I'm going to share a few things that I've learned, and maybe you can take my errors and the things that, you know, I'm sharing with you, and maybe you can apply it and it can be a benefit to you. Okay? So when I became a little older, and I was already what, 17, 18, 19, I was already conditioned in my brain that, okay, that's the way you have to be. You gotta, you know, you go out there into the world with a few scriptures, and if you slip up, and then you could just go back and then you repent whenever you get back to the church. So that was kind of like, that was my guide throughout life. Now, mind you, I did attend like a little small family-oriented church, but we were all Pentecostals. Whether we went to go visit a large Pentecostal church or a little small hole-in-the-wall church. But yes, we were all Pentecostal. This is my thoughts on the Spirit told pastor versus what the Spirit told me. Okay? Alright, so that's kind of what I'm going to be. I tell you, every time I get on this phone, well, I tell you, busy, busy, busy. Alright, so back to what I was saying. The Spirit told pastor versus what the Spirit told me when I started to tap into spirituality, right? Okay, so when I was 17...
New text message from +1 85038.
When I left home at 17 years old, I left home early because I felt like I was not getting the nurturing, the love and the nurturing support that I'm supposed to receive, and from family, you know. Yes, I did grow up in a single parent household, but it was like I was living with someone that was learning how to be a mother all over again. And because I was already conditioned with the ideas of how to be holy and righteous, I found myself judging the people in my household. And that's not how I wanted to be, but that's how I ended up being. So it had got really bad to the point where, and I was already trying to recover from a lot of sexual assault, a lot of other issues that I kept within myself, because every time I would open up about it, it would be like, well, yeah, you should have spoke up. Well, you might as well get over it because I've been through it too. And I'm like, but I'm the type of person, I want to know why this happened to me, and I want justice. That's the kind of person I am. I want justice. If I can't get a good hardcore apology, I want justice. So with all that going on around that time, you know, me, my sisters, we were trying to learn how to bond. We were trying to figure each other out. And it was hard because we all had different backgrounds. We had different ideas of how to be, right? And so I think the turning point was when I said, okay, yeah, I got to get up out of here. That's to get up out of here. Is when my sisters would try to take my things without asking. And I don't mind sharing, but it's like I don't really have much. You know, I didn't make a lot of money on a little job that I had. And it's like when I let you borrow my stuff and you bring it back smelling like you've been to PE 5 times without getting in the shower, I don't be want to share my stuff. And so I was called a bitch because I was not trying to put up with somebody taking advantage of my stuff when I knew that I didn't have much and they didn't care about my stuff. Then it went from that to we had to share phone lines. Now back then we didn't have a cell phone. Well, at least in my household we didn't have a cell phone. We had a phone line. I get on the phone. My sisters, they get on the phone. They talk to their little friends. So when I talk to my little friend, it's like I'm taking too long on the phone. So instead of them respecting the fact that I'm on the phone and waiting patiently until I get off the phone, my sister goes in the kitchen and comes out with a butcher knife, threatening to stab me because I wouldn't get off the phone in time. Then it went from dealing with that to my other sister, she was going through puberty and learning about herself and learning about tapes and VHS and different things that wasn't age appropriate. And, you know, I tried to correct her and discipline her because I didn't want her to, you know, affect her mindset, because I had a little taste of knowing, okay, how when you see something that you really don't understand, but it wake up this whole curiosity. I guess that's almost like saying when Eve bit the apple and she got that knowledge that of good and evil that she wasn't really, you know, God didn't want her to have. That was pretty much the same situation. I was like, And so when I discipline or correct my sister and go off, you know, and of course I'm not a mother, I'm not experienced, but I was put in a position where, okay, I had to be responsible for my sisters. I had to make sure they had what they needed. I had to make sure I watch over them so nothing won't happen to them, protect them and things like that. But then if it ain't the way my mother wanted it to be, then I was considered, you know, evil, or I was this bitch that was, you know, that just was grumpy and did not, I guess, discipline the way she feels like I should discipline. Now, mind you, when I grew up, I didn't just get whoopings with the belt, but I got punches. Like, I got beat across the back and punched like I'm in a fight, but I just can't fight back. I just got to tolerate it. But then I was told that I needed to watch over and discipline and become the second mama role over my sisters. But then when I do it the way they taught me how to do it, then it's a problem. So it goes from that into, it created division, because I felt like, okay, I'm going out my way trying to look out for my sisters, but now I'm being treated like an outcast. And then it's like, and my sisters, they knew they wasn't wrong. They knew I did not like starting no problems. I did not like confrontation, but they knew they wasn't wrong with a lot of stuff. But they ain't gonna ever own up to it because of pride. But you know, that was a few little things. And then when I walked in on my ex-boyfriend, you know, and my sister, you know, in the house alone, then I just already knew, yeah, that's a wrap. And then I go in and mention it to my mom, complaining, I'm upset. And she tells me, well, you should never broke up with him in the first place. Now, mind you, she was the one that told me to break up with him because she felt like he wasn't no good. He was toxic. And in so many ways, he kind of was. But he never disrespected me and did anything to the point where I had to just cut him off. Because that's what my mom, she was just, you need to cut him off. So, fast forward. I move on. Run into this other guy. Thinking, okay, this is my lifesaver. And no, the guy did not have much going for himself. I just felt like by him being older and more experienced in life and knowing how to be established, I felt like, okay, that was my way of learning how to become established and make choices, better choices in my life. So I graduate, run into this guy. He was, you know, of course, he was a nice looking guy. He knew how to touch me in all the right places, because at the same time, I was very inexperienced. I didn't know nothing about nothing. And he was older and he knew all the right spots. So yes, I became hooked. But at the same time, I felt like I really didn't want to rush into a relationship, but I knew that back home just was not a place that I can call home. So this guy, this is how much mental Christian conditioning I was in. Not just that, but along with the toxic mentality of my family members. So the guy, he ran into a situation where he's like, you know, he had a fallout with his baby mama. Now, this is where I was telling y'all in the other video where the red flags come in at. The baby mama cheated on him. She was very abusive. She just was nasty and selfish, and she was a hoe and all kinds of names. And so he didn't really have a place that, you know, a stable place. At first he did, but then all of a sudden he ran into a situation where he didn't have no stable place. And so, yeah, I invited him to stay at my place. You know, I asked my mom, you know, can you help out? So it went from that to, okay, it went from the not really having a stable place to stay to now, I lost my car because my baby mama managed to take the car and this and this and that. So then I found myself trying to go over and beyond and drive this particular person back and forth to work and help him get around until he get back on his feet, because now, you know, he out of transportation and definitely don't want him to be out of work. But that ended up happening anyway. So it went from that to he had finally, you know, found a place of his own, and then he asked, okay, well, can you help me out with the light bill? And I'm like, oh, light bill? I don't have no light bill money, because I barely was making money. I was working part-time at a restaurant. And he was like, no, I need to turn the lights on in your name. So I'm like, oh, okay, well, that's fine. That's no problem. Okay, so I moved in. I said, hey, if I'm gonna be doing that, then I'm gonna move on in and make this my new home. And so that's what I did. Moved in, thought I was like in heaven. You know, we had our struggles, of course. I mean, we didn't have a lot of money, but we made it work. And I think that's why we bonded so well, because we were able to relate to the struggle. So a situation happened to where I was out of a vehicle. Well, I couldn't drive my mama's vehicle anymore because I wrecked it. Bad tires. And so that put me to the point where now I got to walk to work. And when I go grocery shopping, I got to try to pick and choose what I can carry all the way from work. So mind you, I got a job where it was like about a mile away. And it was a job where you had to dress casual. You couldn't wear no tennis shoes or none of that. All right, I'm back. Had to switch up. Phone was getting a little hot. I'm trying to remember what I was talking about. Oh, I was explaining what led me to move out early. That's what it was. And so I did get a job and didn't have transportation and barely had bus fare money. And I had to walk home and walk to work, which was about a mile away. And it gets tiring. I mean, especially if you got to do it for almost a whole month or more. And then on top of that, you know, having to carry bags, that's no fun. So one particular day, my coworker noticed that it was storming and it was raining. And I was like, oh man, I do not want to have to deal with this. And it was like, well, what's wrong? And I was like, well, I got to walk home, and I wasn't prepared to walk home in a stormy weather. And he was like, well, I can drop you off. My wife, she cool, and she knows, you know. And I knew his wife because she, I don't know if I used to go to school with her, but I know his wife. I already knew his wife. And they were a young, beautiful couple with a beautiful little boy. And he gave me a ride home. And of course, he didn't, you know, he was so generous. I mean, he didn't ask for any money. I did offer to give him gas money, and he was like, no, I know the struggle. You good. And so at the time, my boyfriend was like, I don't really like you riding in nobody's car, no man's car. And I'm like, well, why? I'm tired. I don't want to walk home in the storm. You know, it ain't like you got a way to get me home. You don't got no cab money, no bus money. So what do you expect me to do some days? He was like, I just like I said, I don't want you riding with no guy, because when I used to give this girl a ride at my job, you know, we ended up hooking up. And I'm like, well, that's between you and that girl. That don't mean I'm that girl. But I mean, I was like, man, I'm over it. And so another time came up where I caught a ride with the coworker, and all I know is we drove right past the basketball court, because that's where, you know, my ex at the time, that's where he would always go, to the basketball court. And he noticed the car, and he started running behind the car. I was like, oh snap, it's finna be some drama. And it's not like I wanted it to be drama, but I was like, man, you gotta start trusting, because if I gotta trust him, he gotta trust me. And that's just, it is what it is. But yeah, he ran behind the car. I got out the car real quick. I told the guy to leave because I don't want no confrontation, even though it was innocent. It was innocent, but my ex made it more than what it was. So I get out the car, and before I even get my bags put down good enough, he yelling out, bitch, get the fuck out my place. You try me. I told you, you don't have the right to be riding in no car with no other niggas. Bitch, get out my house. And I'm trying to explain to him, please understand there's nothing going on with this man. I just need a ride home, and I don't want to walk all the time. Please understand that. So eventually the situation calmed down, but then I started thinking to myself, okay, I forgave him. I wasn't even in love with him, with my ex, but I forgave at that time. But I had forgave him because I was conditioned to believe that you have to be able to forgive like Jesus forgive others, and turn the other cheek when somebody is calling you names and trying to make you feel less than, because they have something going on within themselves. So that's what was conditioned in me. That's what the pastor told us. That's what the Spirit told the pastor to tell the congregation, which is me. Okay, I was part of the congregation. All right, so to forgive. So when I got physically abused, I had to forgive. That's why I kept it in so long, because I'm like, okay, I can forgive you, I love you, but I don't know why you hurt me. But I'm praying that if I stay in your life, you don't hurt me again. And that's what I did with not just my ex, but I did that with family members. I did that with a lot of people, just trying to forgive, but never really got an understanding on why would they treat me this way when I haven't did anything to anybody. But I already knew that it was going to turn into, you know, a blame game. And then they, you know, the people, they're the type that I don't have to explain anything to you. It is what it is, and I'll do it again if you, you know, do something I don't like. That's the kind of mentality that I had to deal with. So from there, I'm moving on to the next one that's being taught in church, and that is submit. So I guess because a lot of the women in the Bible did some submitting. Who was it? Ruth? I don't know all the names right off. I don't know if it was Rebecca. I don't know, but it was some people that went through some kind of submission and did not question the man or the leader. And I said to myself, well, okay, I'm gonna work on the submission. I'm gonna work on it. But when the leader is not showing that they're able to lead and they're not making the best choices all the time, especially if they have a lot of baggage and trauma, whether it's from childhood or ex-relationships, it's kind of hard to put all of your faith in someone that already had a mindset that somebody is out to get them and fuck them over. So when you expecting someone to do right, even if you get them money or anything related to maintaining the structure of a household, and they are not being honest, they're not being honest. But then that puts you in a position to where now, okay, I got to forgive him because he doesn't know the proper way of handling different challenges in the household. He doesn't want to be honest and open because that's going to put him in a spotlight to where he have to explain himself. All right. And then because we were both Christianized, we were taught to judge people based on their behavior. So if somebody is a liar, then yeah, that's going to be a judgment. If the person is a thief, that's going to be a judgment. So because we've been taught to be like judgmental with the 10 Commandments, that caused a lot of issues within the relationship. No matter how much we prayed together, no matter how much we read Bible verses together, it still put that negative thought and that judgmental thought in the back of our head towards each other, even though it could have been simply explained if we would have used logic and not the fear and the emotional part of it, which is what comes with being a Christian. You know, it's that fear-based of, okay, am I going to be judged and sent to hell because I didn't do this correctly, or I'm scared that this person going to put me on punishment, which, you know, we're not able to do anything like that. So, to me, instead of looking at things for the way it is, and to me, I think karma is what helped me not hold so much resentment and bitterness, because I can already see it balances out. No matter if you are a hardcore Christian, you can be the top-notch pope, pastor, bishop, all you want to be, but if you F up, then it's going to karma going to balance it out. The universe is going to balance and make it all even. Just like back in 2020, when COVID came out, it's like a lot of people ran and flocked to the church thinking, oh, okay, Jesus is going to save me. And then they still ended up getting COVID inside the church. And then what? They're going to come up with another story for that? Oh, because y'all was sinning? Everybody sin one way or another. Ain't no way around it. The way the system in society is set up, you're going to end up sinning one way or another, but you still got to take control over your life and make the right decisions, and try to contribute positively to our society, not add and make it worse. Okay? So just because you may say, okay, I'm gonna lie and call in and tell them I don't feel good, even though that's not true, they might say that's a white lie, versus somebody lying and causing somebody to lose their life and their livelihood. You know, that's a big one, but it's still, a lie is a lie. You know, ain't no way around it. So everybody sins, so one way or another. The last part I did want to touch on is the repenting. You know, we can run and repent as many times as we want, but karma gonna get that ass. If you fucking up and then you ain't trying to acknowledge your mistakes and trying to make a change and trying to go get help, either if it's a rehab or mental help or something, so you can stop being a menace to society, you can repent all you want, and but nah, there's a lot of people get punished in church. A lot of people still end up getting sick with diseases, still get sent to prison. All of that take place, even if you're a Christian. So it ain't no such thing as, oh, you gotta go to church enough, you gotta pay enough tithes, you gotta do this, you gotta do that. No, you gotta focus on healing yourself, and then once you heal yourself, you're healing your bloodline, and then you can also be able to please don't get behind me. God, I'm so tired of people aggravating the fuck out of me. And then that way, I'm sorry, y'all. I'm riding, and it's like I'm riding through these little small towns in North Florida, and it's like the police officers are always looking for a reason to pull somebody. It's like you can go 3 miles over, and they already looking for a reason to pull you, like you done went 100 miles per hour. Now this time I'm being good. I'm not trying to be a speed demon. I'm trying my best to do good, but it seems like no matter what, they still want to bother you. But yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and conclude my my ideas of letting the spirit speak to you, and being open to changing, to letting the spirit speak to somebody else, and they interpret their way or their ideas of what they feel like you should be doing. You know, so I married early because somebody was telling me I was fornicating, and that's why my life is going to be cursed, because I was fornicating. But they don't understand, throughout the whole time of being married, I was being broken down in small pieces. Like I said, it was very abusive. And no matter how much I love, the harder I love, I read books trying to figure out a better way to love. I tried to watch movies. I tried to do all kinds of stuff, but it just still wasn't working. So use your brain, love yourself, and I'll be in touch.